So today, let's pull back the curtain on the human choices that are happening behind the code and dive into the critical world of AI ethics. First up, we really need to understand what's at stake here. Let's take a look at what happens when these incredibly complex systems have unintended and sometimes, well, devastating consequences in the real world. It's a pretty startling question, isn't it? But it's one we all need to start thinking about. Because the answer, unfortunately, is a big yes. And look, this isn't some hypothetical problem in the distant future. It's happening right now. Get this. Here's a real-world example. An algorithm that was designed to predict who needed the most healthcare ended up giving lower risk scores to Black patients compared to white patients, even when they had the exact same health issues. So what was the result? They were way less likely to get the extra care they needed. This isn't just some programming glitch. It's a sign of a much, much deeper problem. Okay, so to tackle problems exactly like that one, this whole field of AI ethics has really taken off. You should think of it as more than just writing better code. It's really a mission to bake our most important values, things like fairness, justice, and privacy, directly into the artificial intelligence that we're building. So that brings up the million-dollar question. Where is this bias actually coming from? Is the AI itself prejudiced? Well, as you might guess, the answer is a little more complicated than that. See, an AI isn't biased in the same way a person can be. It's a machine. Instead, it learns from the data we feed it. It's like a student. And if that data reflects the historical or societal biases that already exist, and let's be honest, it almost always does, then the AI will learn those same biases. And what's worse, it can amplify them on a massive scale. The tricky thing is, bias can sneak in at so many different stages. It can be right there in the initial training data. For example, what if a facial recognition system is trained mostly on pictures of white men? It's not going to be very good at identifying anyone else. Bias can also be in the algorithm itself, if the creators make some flawed assumptions. And of course, it can come from the cognitive bias of the humans building it, who might not even see how their own assumptions are shaping the final product. So at the end of the day, it's not just one single point of failure. Bias can seep in through that initial data, the algorithm itself, or even the final predictions the AI spits out. It's a systemic challenge, and it means we have to be vigilant at every single step of the process. So the big question is, how do we build AI that we can actually trust? Well, thankfully, researchers and ethicists have been working hard on this, and they've developed a pretty clear framework. It's based on 5 key pillars that together can build a real foundation for responsible AI. These are the 5 pillars of trustworthy AI. I want you to think of them almost like a checklist or a test for any developer or any company that's building an AI system. They give us a common language and a set of goals to really aim for. These pillars really just boil down to a set of simple but pretty profound questions, like, is the AI just a mysterious black box, or can we actually understand how it makes its decisions? Does it treat everybody fairly? What happens if it runs into something new? Will it break? Can we look under the hood and see how it works? And of course, does it protect our personal data? Getting the answer to each of these right, well, it's absolutely critical. All right, so knowing the pillars is one thing, but actually putting them into practice, that's the real challenge. So what are the concrete real-world strategies we can use to start fixing the bias in these systems? Well, the solutions basically mirror the problems we talked about. You have to start with better ingredients, and that means using diverse representative data. Then you have to constantly be testing your models for bias, not just for how accurate they are. We can actually design algorithms with fairness built right in from the very beginning. We need to be transparent about how these things work And maybe most importantly, we need diverse teams building this tech because they can spot biases that others might completely miss. And I want to be clear, this isn't just some academic discussion. The biggest names in tech, Google, IBM, and even major governing bodies like the EU are creating entire policies around this stuff. They know that trust is absolutely essential for the future of AI, and these ethical guidelines are the only way we're going to build that trust. But here's where it gets really tricky. Even with the best data and the fairest algorithms, we are heading towards questions that technology alone simply cannot answer. We're now entering the realm of true ethical dilemmas. This is what you'd call a classic no-win scenario. A situation where every single possible choice has a major moral downside. There is no clean, right answer. And now we are asking programmers to write code that makes a choice in these exact scenarios. To make this concept really concrete, researchers at MIT created a project called The Moral Machine. It's fascinating. It basically puts you in the programmer's seat of a self-driving car that's facing an impossible choice. So imagine this. A self-driving car's brakes suddenly fail. It has two options. Does it continue straight and hit the pedestrians that are in the crosswalk? Or does it swerve, saving them but harming its own passengers inside the car? There is no easy answer here. And yet, someone, a programmer, has to write the code that makes that life or death decision in a split second.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question. As we hand over more and more of our decisions to machines, whose values are we actually programming into them? When an AI has to make a moral choice, who decides what's right? The programmer, the company, the government, or maybe you? Because the answer to that question is going to define the kind of world we're all building, one line of code at a time.